boy, what a wonderful turnout. Lots of people here. I'm David Boyle, and I work with microorganisms. I'm a microbial physiologist. And microorganisms, by their name, they're very small. You can't really see them. So we're talking about bacteria and things that people usually don't concern themselves with very much. I used to work quite a bit in the bioremediation industry, which was using microbes to clean up messes, contamination of soils and the like. And it was one of the biggest messes that the world was dealing with, and they still deal with, are some of the subsurface contaminants. In the old days, people used to think, I've got something toxic, what am I going to do with it? I'll just pump it down that dry well over there. So the chrome plating industry, among other people, they'd say, dump this stuff into the dry well out back, and 20 years later, 30 years later, sort of in the 70s, 80s, they started realizing the types of expensive problems that this led to. And cleaning up a mess like that is really difficult. However, people used to think down in the underground, nothing's happening anyway. Nothing could be more wrong. Recent evidence is that there are microbes down there, bacteria down there. There are all sorts of microorganisms growing down in the soil, growing down 6 feet down, and amazingly, they go down miles into the subsurface, well into the zone where people are talking about fracking. They go down, for every mile down, the temperature goes up by about 25 degrees centigrade. So if you can go down, and a lot of these microbes will live up to 100 degrees centigrade. So you've got all these microorganisms living down in the zone which people are talking about fracking. The thing about these microbes is a lot of them are new. It's remarkable how little is known about these microbes. But in the same breath, it's amazing how many of them there are. Some estimates would say that there's as much biomass in the subsurface as there is above the surface on the Earth. So these are things we haven't really even thought about as a species. They've got all these other animals, plants, microorganisms that we don't think about. And they're, you could say, well, who cares? Well, turns out that it is true. We don't really know what those microbes are doing, but we got some good hints. When you go down into the subsurface, the chemistry changes quite a bit. You have a lot of minerals that are locked up. You have radioactive minerals that are locked up. You have heavy metals that are locked up. And to some degree, the reason they're locked up is because of the type of microbes that are there keep them locked up. And when you go and change the microbial populations down in the subsurface, you can get liberation of all sorts of things, all sorts of toxic materials that have that have been sitting there for example, 30 million years. So that can be kind of exciting when those things get liberated. The fracking business, I didn't realize this. It's all sort of new to me, but the volumes and quantities of materials that people are dealing with are really, to me, pretty amazing. If you have one fracking site, the company can pump 200 Olympic swimming pools full of water down into the subsurface. When that water goes down, it has a microbial population associated with it. When it comes back up, after having sat down there in the fracked area, the population of microbes is entirely different than what went in. Interestingly, a lot of those microbes are adapted to growing at body temperature, and they may or may not be pathogenic. We know nothing about that. Anyway, I guess really what I'm going to write up is how many unknowns there are in the area of microbiology and fracking. And I think Barb Harris might later on allude to how much is not known and how we really got to sort those things out before we even consider doing something as high impact as fracking our subsurface. Thank you.